Since thousands of years, the enchanting solitude of forests has been a place of study of consciousness in India. But here we are going to talk about consciousness in living organisms from biological point of view. While amphibians respire using lungs and skin as well, the snakes smell with the help of their tongue. So it is interesting that snakes can smell with the help of their tongue. Hello friends, this is Lakshmi Raman Ozha from Samarth Biology Tutorials Latur, and you are watching SBTL webcast. This time we are going to talk about the fifth feature of living organisms, and that is consciousness. Consciousness is a very broad term, but here we are going to talk about the biological consciousness, consciousness in biological perspective. All living organisms are aware of their environments, both environments, internal environment as well as external environment. If there is pain somewhere in the body, we can note that. That is how we can note our internal environment. While if the temperature outside is more, we can note that. That is how we note the external environment. In living organisms, this process of knowing the environment, sensing the environment is interesting. If you see some plants, then their flowers bloom at specific time, in specific seasons. So plants are aware of the changes in the environment also. Living organisms, they respond to the environment. That is one of the fundamental features of living organisms. Our eyes, they resemble a digital camera, an autofocus camera. It can focus at any point instantaneously like an autofocus camera. Cameras have an aperture in them. This aperture controls the amount of light that enters inside the camera. Even in our eyes, there is iris. This disc-like structure has a pore at the center. This pore is called pupil. Pupil controls the amount of light that enters into our eyeball. It constricts as a response to more light, and it dilates when there is dim light. Absorbed into our own modern life, we are adapted to a pace, a speed, a routine that repeats again and again. This routine has harmed our intuitions. This routine has affected our sense of altruism. Our study of consciousness has become rigid, therefore. We isolate emotions artificially by keeping them confined to bioelectrical phenomena in our neurons. Altruism is an interesting word. That is a selfless concern for well-being of others. That can be seen in lower organisms as well. Monkeys, birds, squirrel make a noisy call to protect other animals when they note a furious predator in their surrounding. In this effort, they become vulnerable and have a risk of their lives. But they still take a risk. This selfless work points to an emotional angle in these animals. On the study of consciousness, we need to focus upon this angle as well. We humans have a limited ability to sense our surrounding. For example, our visible range that begins from violet and ends at red. Within this limited spectrum, we can see the things. But in comparison, if we see honeybees, few other insects, then they can see even in the ultraviolet range to a limited extent. Our ability to hear is limited to few frequencies.
I welcome you all. You are listening to SBTL webcasts. Stay with us for next few minutes.
But there exist sound frequencies beyond that also. These sound frequencies are defined as ultrasonic waves. If you take example of bats, then bats can detect these ultrasonic waves, the sound waves which are inaudible to we humans. Bats can detect those frequencies which are ultrasonic. Many lower organisms which are not evolved have actually evolved a method that could overcome their limitations. Bats have a poor vision. They are nocturnal animals. They fly at night. So, in the darkness of night, if they want to detect some disturbance in the pathway, their vision is not sufficient. In such conditions, they use a technique called echolocation. The echoes of ultrasonic waves they receive that makes a spatial picture of the surrounding they have. So the sense of surrounding, the consciousness, it is not just limited to what we humans perceive. Biology made a great progress with advancements in field of microscopy. 17th and 18th century discoveries are all about tissues and unicellular eukaryotes, larger microbes. As the culturing and staining techniques became advanced, a whole new world of microbes appeared on canvas of life science. Then came the bacteria, the bacteriology, study of bacteria. So, can bacteria sense their environment? Can they sense their surrounding? Does consciousness exist there as a feature, fundamental feature of living organisms? Let's take example of nitrogen fixing bacteria. Nitrogen is most abundant gas around us. Plants need nitrogen for making the chlorophyll. The formula of chlorophyll is C55H72O5N4Mg. Nitrogen is an important part of chlorophyll which makes the plants. Plants can synthesize their own food because of presence of chlorophyll. And chlorophyll contains nitrogen. The second thing plants need nitrogen for is the enzymes are proteins and they are made of amino acids containing nitrogen. So nitrogen is essential requirement of plants. Now the question is, how do plants get this nitrogen? Nitrogen exists in our surrounding in abundance, but leaves cannot take nitrogen from the surrounding as they take carbon dioxide from their stomata, from their leaf pores. So there works one more thing here. That is, nitrogen is first of all converted into such a form which can assimilate into living systems. Nitrogen is poorly reactive because the two atoms of nitrogen have a triple bond that is strong. It cannot be broken easily. It requires very high amount of energy. Then the bacteria in the soil, they help for this process. This process is called diazotrophy. Azo is nitrogen and diazotropy is nitrogen fixation. Bacteria, those surround the soil around root hairs, receive signals from cells in the root hairs. Bacteria react to those. They respond to those, and slowly the root hairs grow towards the bacteria. Then bacteria infect that growing root hair. After entering the root, bacteria, they grow in prolific speeds. Their proliferation takes place in the root cortex. That results into formation of nodules, which are characteristic feature of leguminous plants. Bacteria initially send signals towards the root before infection. They are aware of their surrounding. This is one of the examples, but there are many examples in which we can see that living beings are aware of their surrounding. Friends, thank you for listening me so kindly. We discussed today the fifth characteristic feature of living organism, that is response to the environment, the consciousness. Thank you for listening me so kindly. This is Lakshmi Raman Ozha from Samartha Biology Tutorials Latur, and you are watching SBTL webcasts.